Steve take over. What's going on this Monday?
Well, thank you very much, Scott. Hello, everybody. Happy Monday. Welcome to another edition of Office Hours. I'll be your host, Jamie, and I got, of course, Steve in here as my wingman today. What's going on over there, Steve?
Hello, James. Not too much. Did I call you James? I meant Jamie.
It's okay. Everybody does it. So welcome, everyone. Without further ado, let's just get through the disclaimer here. I just want to make sure everyone in attendance is aware of the fact that all the info that we share with you in this webinar or any of the webinars that we have coming at you on a weekly basis is for educational purposes only, simply meaning we do not dispense investment advice, buy, sell information. If you do need someone to tell you what to buy, when to sell it, all that good stuff, please seek out someone like a registered investment advisor or a Series 7 licensed stockbroker that can legally dispense that type of info to you. So educational purposes only is what we're coming at you with. Always like to take a little bit of time at the top of the hour here to let you know about the community that we fostered around the tech that is TI. And as you can see up here in the upper left, where did my pin go? There it is, it's hiding. Upper left up here, the trading room hosted by Barry. Barry opens the doors about 30 minutes before every open. A great place to be. Doesn't matter if you're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced. You got traders from all skill sets in there. Pretty vibrant community, and Barry does a fantastic job at showcasing his trading style and the way he uses trade ideas. Doesn't mind answering questions, you know, once that first hour gets over with as well. So it's a great learning environment as well. And of course, other than Barry, the next best thing about the trading room is the price. That's free. So if you haven't been taking advantage of that resource, you definitely need to get in there and do that. Of course, you get myself and Steve on Mondays for office hours. Steve takes the helm on Tuesdays with the trade of the week. Now, Steve, I don't know if that switch was going to be permanent that you and Michael did, or was that just a temporary thing?
No, it's permanent, and glad for it.
Okay, so Steve's going to be moving to Wednesdays for his deal, and we'll get these slides updated later on. And of course, Wednesday rolls around, change it up just a little bit, bring in the CEO and founder, Mr. Dan Merkin, along with Brad Williams, always entertaining with those two. Of course, Andy's going to round out the 5 p.m. Eastern slots on Thursday with the Trading Studio. I'm going to ride shotgun with him. That gets us through all the 5 p.m. Eastern webinars, and then we have our daily support session, which is every Monday through Friday, 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern. Just a great place to come and get live answers for anything TI related. And we have a different trainer person on the mic each and every day. So the next slide here, I'll show you how to get there. Just this URL on the bottom, trade-ideas.com/live. That's a static address. So once you get there, you can bookmark it for easy access. Same bat time, same bat channel, every Monday through Friday from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern. Educational resources, especially if you are new to the product. The TI University 4-part video series, a great place to get over that learning curve quicker than you would by not watching these videos, especially the beginning ones, 101 and 201. A lot of widgets within Trade Ideas to get to learn and love over time, and these first two are great. Of course, intermediate, advanced 401, are good as well, just dealing with the more advanced functionality of trade ideas like the back testing and optimization, all that good stuff. So you would access these videos just by going to our YouTube channel, find the Trade Ideas channel and just search for TI University. These will come right up so you can stop them and start them at your leisure. All right, getting right along here to the itinerary for today's market content. And of course, a little bit of a low volume day today, Steve, you know, big tracking ETF. So I guess it's a good time to kick it over to you. Kind of see what your thoughts are on those guys. You should have the football.
The football. Do I have the codes?
I believe so.
Yeah, you are correct. I'm going to dub this, if I had to give it a song title, we'd call it the low volume summer grind, because that's exactly what it is. I mean, there's the average volume line right there. I hate that color. Let's get a different color. The average volume line really shows the story that for the last 2 weeks, we've been very much under normal volume. Yet the grinding price just moves higher. I've seen this many times before. Happens a lot in the summertime when there's no real catalyst either way. It's just kind of a drift higher. But when we click into the 15-minute chart, it's kind of laughable. I mean, sure. So basically, that entire move that we see on the daily chart, you know, it got us back here to all-time highs, was really just done in the last 30 minutes, maybe even 15 minutes for the most part. But you know, my stocks didn't do that at the end of the day. I don't know if yours did, Jamie, but mine didn't. But nonetheless, that's the market we have. And then the NASDAQ, which I think I said was kind of lagging last week and was ready to start maybe picking up the rear. Let's see, that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days ago. Yeah, so NASDAQ emerged out of that consolidation very nicely as well. And then IWM, which was having a couple of hot hands last week, pulled back a little bit, but you know, it's just pass the baton around, spin the plates on the tall stick, make sure they don't wobble too much and fall over. And that's what money managers, the market, the Fed, everything, all the powers that be are doing, just keeping this juggernaut going. So you're foolish to bet against it, and there's nothing wrong with maybe having some defensive plays in your portfolio. I've got a lot of silver in my portfolio, there's nothing wrong with even maybe having a hedge or two, maybe a small amount of inverse ETFs just in case. But there's really no case to be just full on bearish. You know, you look at this technically, the IWM might be ready to break out again. Let's see what else can really be said about this market other than just a low volume summer grind. Look at that. Did we finish an all-time highs? Yeah, I guess we did. Pull out the party hats, all-time highs again in tech land in the NASDAQ. So nothing really to write home about in terms of, you know, what's going on out there that I find really significant. I'll say it, there's no bear case again to be had. ETFs here just kind of take turns moving forward. It's kind of a backstretch on the Indy 500. They just kind of draft along each other. The trade of the week last week was horrible, but at least we got some vindication this week. Trade of the week, Blink, got up to a really nice start today, and then, hey, geez, what do you know? The S&P did something completely different, but Blink kind of broke at the end there and blinked, if you will. But what is very intriguing about this trade, and by the way, I did sell a third of my position up there. Jamie is my witness, but still in 2/3 of Blink, the trade of the week. But what is interesting to me still is, that was highlighted in the email, is the very small float. Those of you who maybe have watched it trade on the open today, you saw this thing bounce around like crazy. Well, something with 36 million shares in total circulation will do that. But if this number is correct, and it should be, and I've verified it over the weekend with other sources, 37% of 36 million at last survey, you know, that could have been back here, who knows, but I'd be very nervous. You know, this is a longer term chart that's, it's not, I'm not going to come back here like this. It's not one that's just that we're asking to continue to ride this trend higher. Those haven't been working as much. Beautiful bounce off the 200-day there, and then breaks above all moving averages, consolidates for the most part sideways, picks up my 10-day moving average perfectly with a nice touch on Friday. You know, you add that to the short float and what's been going on in other stocks, AMC and Bed Bath & Beyond, and the short float game is on. So why not, you know, add that to the mix and lean on that for some confidence in this trade. But that off to a good start so far in the trade of the week. Blink, we'll talk more about that tomorrow. That's it.
Good stuff, Steve. Thank you very much. I was just checking out some of my floats while you were talking about that. And to answer your question from earlier, no, my stocks did not rally into the close like the SPY did either.
Yeah, figured.
All right, so let me grab it back here. Okay, so yeah, kind of a low volume day, as Steve was pointing out here. We only finished at 0.64 relative volume, as we can see over here on the SPY. But for the majority of the day, all through this choppy area, we had significantly low volumes on all time frames. So we were just all kind of scratching our heads, going, well, this is the first day it kind of feels like summer, the summer volume kicking in. But if it's anything like the last two summers, there's still a lot of things that are going to be moving. So there's still going to be a lot of opportunity, hopefully. Today was a pretty good example of that, considering the low volume. A lot of things on my favorite windows, and we also had some good Holly action as well. So I kind of feel like going a little backwards today, because some of you may or may not know, in order to get all of the bugs worked out of the E-Trade version of Brokerage Plus, I've taken a little project here lately, been automating the Holly signals. This will be the third week today, starting of the third week. So it's been a very interesting process. I'm going to share a little bit of that with you guys today. So I'll tell you what, interesting on the compare count readings today, because these were identical to last week's. Okay, last Monday we had 57% bullish count after the first 15 minutes. And just to reiterate what this compare count window is looking at, it's simply looking at the larger cap stocks that are capitalized over 4 billion in market cap, and are they hitting highs or lows in the opening 15 minutes. A little bit of accelerated 1 minute volume, but hey, all the time frames are going to be accelerated typically in that opening 15 minutes. But a lot of the times this can give us an idea of what the market might do in the short term, and sometimes it saves it for the back end, and that was exactly the case today. 57%, typically looking for a bias above 55% one way or the other. So we got just a couple of percentage points above that level today. And of course, what did the SPY do at the close? All right, we had a little bit of a range here from the open, but once we got down to these lower regions over here, you know, we were talking about just coming back down to the top of this little level right here. And we can see quick bounce, low volume, and boy, it sure did make up for it at the close. So that last 45 minutes, boom, 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 compare counts caught up with everything, and that's how it works sometimes. Sometimes it's the initial move, sometimes it saves it for the back end, but that's the way it played out today. But it can still give you a little bit of confidence to hold those longs on a day like today, where we're not having big volume, just kind of scampering around at this little area that obviously acted as a little bit of support today. All right, questions panel. Looks like you're keeping up, Steve. Let me know if I need to go over anything. So what we're going to do is we're going to go a little backwards today. I'm going to save Holly for the last, and we're going to talk about the orb trades that were present today, because I was kind of surprised at the number of these things and the quality. Of course, most of those were to the long side today. We did have a few short examples. So I tell you what, let's just go over the good orb examples that were delivered out of the new T-low window today. So first on the list here, we had FOA. It was pretty busy with stuff today, so I didn't have a lot of time to mark these up, but hey, we'll just mark them up in real time. Had a little bit of time to put these lines on here. So this is the opening 15-minute range on the FOA, as we can see right here. A little wick down, tightens up here, and then breaks right here. New low in effect. And as you can see, the arrow, this is where the low was breached. Plenty of time to react on that. Stop loss would have been way up here using the prior 15-minute candle before the one where the break occurs. And boy, what a well-behaved stock today. Exactly what you want a stock to do, just immediate gratification. Goes down just like we would like a short to do. So we've got a pretty big reward area here. As you can see, reward area all in here, risk area right here. So we could have packed that risk area probably 2 times in there with a little bit left over. So a nice controlled down move in FOA, around about a price of 782, bottoming out at the bottom here, 726. Not a bad percentage for a lower priced stock there. So just a nice clean opening range break, 1, 2, 3, an hour into the market on FOA, all because, well, it was hitting a low and it was doing a minimum of 3 times relative volume. So that's all we do. We check it out. We see if the break is conducive. Can we get it in that candle? Plenty of time to do so, and a nice clean trade on a short side there. All right, the other one, and let's tell you what, Steve was talking about the market caps and the float sizes earlier. Not exactly a low floater there in FOA, but I do believe the next one, a little bit smaller of a float. As you can see down here, 21 million shares in the float definitely fits the bill. Typically, we reserve 20 million or less, but I'll let this one slide with 1 million. More importantly, how's that relative volume today? Finishing up at 6x. And this is a good example of one that maybe you wouldn't really want to have anything to do with most days, looking at this average 3-month volume here. But this little guy kicked out a decent amount today, almost 1 million shares, 828, small spreads all throughout the day, so definitely tradable. And we can see up here, a nice clean break. Seller was in control for the first 30 minutes or so. If we marked off the high up here, we've got that easily identifiable range. Takes a little breather. Once it bottoms out here for 30 minutes, we go sideways, and then we crack it right here, 46.52. And once again, a well-behaved stock acting very similar to the FOA. So 46.47, plenty of time to take profits as it continued down to 39. All right, so what about 7 points in between trigger time and the bottoming out? This one never really recouping, you know, one of those stocks that did not participate with the rally on the close. And boy, what a big O engulfing day there. You know, how many days did we cover up there? So BCAB kind of taking a beating today and not closing real strong. That's about as far as I can back up my daily. Let's take a little peek at the weekly here just for giggles. And that's it. That's the entire history for BCAB. I tell you what, that makes me want to anchor a VWAP here. Where'd my anchor go, Steve? I just noticed it's not there anymore. Oh well, so much for anchoring the VWAP. I thought it was still there. In any case, BCAB not closing real strong, so might be on the radar for tomorrow. If it gets into this little area down there, that's going to be
probably in a
all-time
drop-down
lows.
menu on that chart. Are those the new charts?
Yeah, this is the latest dev build. So
yeah, so I think I saw Brad tap one of those icons once, and it has a drop down into the anchored VWAP.
Could be. Oh well, I'm not going to waste too much time on it right now.
Okay.
There it is, anchor. All right, so a weekly anchor. Ooh, look how that weekly acted as that little area of supply, and now whoosh, took its little tumble down. So interesting to see if we can creep out of that area tomorrow. So it might be one to keep an eye on. That is correct, Mike. Okay, Jenny, good question. When I'm referencing an orb, I'm talking about an opening range breakdown. All right, so this example that we're looking at here, these are 15-minute candles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this opening range, about an hour right here, okay, and then it broke down. So an opening range breakdown could be 5 minutes, the opening 10-minute range breakdown, 15, 30, 60, you know, you can keep on stretching it out. We do have alerts for these guys, right? If I go to search, let's type in open, we can find them. Here are the opening range breakdown alerts with all the smaller time frames. Notice the longest one we have is 60, but they can occur after 60 minutes. You're just kind of on your own. But the general theory here is obviously this range right here, once it kind of tightened up, you can't break that range to the downside without popping a new low. Consequently, you know, if this were an opening range break to the upside, you can't get out of that range without popping a new high. And that's what these windows here are using, new highs and new lows, all right? That's primary. And then secondary is the pattern conducive, right? So the timing was just perfect right here. And when we start to look at some of these upside ones, you'll see it's just the exact same pattern, but flipped around. All right, Liliana. So the blue arrow here is the one you're talking about. This is just indicating the candle in which the alert occurred, okay? The blue arrow right here is not indicating this is a long trade or a short trade. It's just indicating that this is the candle in which the alert occurred, all right? So those are the two short ones today. Now we're gonna take a look at some of the long ones. Here's one that everybody is probably familiar with today, all right? Wish, it's been pretty active as of late, as it's been getting sold off from the top here, popping up on a lot of radar screens here. So now we're talking about an opening range breakout to the long side, okay? Once again, keep in mind these are 15-minute candles. So if I just mark off the low here, We've got the low put in, and then eventually, the high was put in at the open. We came down here and put the low in, and eventually got a little sideways action here, but eventually it comes back up and it breaks that new high. So that is also an opening range break a little after 1 hour into the open, okay? And once again, this arrow is just telling us this is where the event occurred. As you can see, that high getting cracked is right there where the line is, right? So once again, this blue arrow is not an indicator of up or down. It's just simply showing you the candle in which the alert was generated, okay? So once again, a little bit of a fast moving stock here, but anywhere about halfway up that candle. I don't feel like that was too chasey. Notice the red line here that the system automatically installed for us, telling us that this could act as an area of short-term supply. It displays right through it, took a little breather here, and then just grinded on up for the rest of the day. Took a little pullback, but was pretty strong into the close. Obviously, we're never going to get out at the top. Sometimes we are, but even if you held this one, roughly to the close, 11.13, and our signal here was 10.49. What do we top out at there? So a little over $1 in potential profit here, but plenty of time to make an exit for somewhere right around $1 or 90 cents or so. And on this price of a security, that's not a bad percentage move. Once again, risk on this trade would have been the bottom of the previous candle, not the entry candle. So 15-minute candles, opening range break occurs here, nice long, risk is down here. Never really had to worry about it. All right, see some more questions popping in there. Yeah, and Jim, fine tuning the orbs, what I've found throughout many years is trying to fine tune them is really not the way we want to go, because you're never going to develop an alert window that shows you perfect opening range breaks, okay? It's about the timing, right? Because a lot of the times the volume won't kick in, won't get them till they're way up here, it's past. So these windows are delivering candidates, okay? But we have to sift through the candidates and figure out, okay, is this one conducive? Is it close to the break area, or has it already passed, significantly through it? Because if we get the alert up here as it's hitting a high because the volume didn't kick in down here, or the relative volume was not at 3, well, we know that, that one's too far past the point that we would want to be involved with it, be too chasey, right? So as with most alert windows, depending on the day, for every 5 or 10 stocks that come through, or let's just say for every 10 stocks that come through, 8 or 9 of them might not be any good. You might find one where the timing is lining up with the new high, and it's just barely breaching that new high, okay? So that's why I prefer to leave these a little bit looser and just scan the data as it comes through. Not to have too many symbols, but then again, the characteristics of the stock are being met that I like, and then if the pattern is conducive, well then we've got something that we can take a risk on. Yeah, and I'm not saying that it's not possible to tighten it up a little bit, Jim. That's just my personal preference. Okay, Fahad's got a question here. What is the best time frame to utilize the orb strategy? Well, general rule of thumb is that you have to give some type of pattern the time to develop. So typically I'm looking at 5-minute candles, at least in the first 30 minutes, because if you're watching 15s, you're not really getting, what you had here in Wish. This was like this little rounded bottom on the 5-minute, okay? Looks a little bit different than the 15, all right? Same, we're just seeing more data here. So in the opening 30, 45 minutes up to an hour, I'm using 5-minute candles, okay? Because they can occur 30 minutes in, 45 minutes in, some are even 15 minutes in, but it depends on how many candles you like to see form. When I see this nice little rounded bottom, I like that, okay? But it could have been just, a lot of them just flatten out. They don't have the rounded bottom, okay? So the tighter the range or the rounded type bottoms that I see, those are the ones that I definitely feel comfortable hitting, assuming the risk is in place. So there was a good one on Wish today. PNNT, not exactly a low floater, but another good example here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is only occurring after about 30 minutes, right? High was put in up here with a red line. That's actually the system showing us what could have been short-term resistance. But check out how small the range was here in PNNT. All right. Another one that on most days you might not have an interest in trading because of the lower volume, but today this one kicked that over 1.2 million shares, finished with a nice relative volume. And once again, we've got the same pattern occurring here. A nice clean opening range break. Since now we're looking at 15-minute candles, if the break is occurring here, plenty of time to get a price, not a big green candle, so even buying the top of that candle would have been a conducive price. 1, 2, 3, we're looking at 5-minute candles now, so we just count back the lowest point of the prior 3, which is be these 3 candles here, and you can see this would have been the risk area right here between these 2 lines, and then a sizable reward area by the end of the day. Don't know exactly how many times we could put that in there, but it's quite a few. All right, so the signal going off originally right about 7:01, and the move looks huge here, but on a percentage basis, 40 cents on a $7 stock is not too bad. Okay, Wish and PNNT. How many shares are in Wish? Yeah, that's a big O float right there, 275 million. Yeah, Jenny, I do. I watch these each and every day. They're my favorite intraday play. And some of them can turn into good swing plays depending on what the daily or the weekly is showing us. All right, next on the list, ATXI. Talk about a low floater. Well, 6 million shares. Remember, 20 million shares is what we consider a low floater. This one coming in at 6 million. And you can see here more of the same. How many 5-minute candles do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this one occurring about 45 minutes into the open. We got that nice little rounded bottom again. Gonna mark off the bottom there. So we can see the break occurring right here, 245, using the prior 15-minute low, 1, 2, 3. So the bottom of that little candle right there would have been our risk area, okay? So our risk area right here, reward area up here. And when we're looking at these things, ladies and gents, we're looking for at least a 1-to-1, if we're risking 1R, we definitely want to try to make 1R. But in cases like this, we're making, we have the potential to make 2, 2.5, sometimes even 3 or more risk to reward ratio. So once again, this one is going, kind of flatten back out, hitting break even for a while, but over time, that buyer comes back in and takes it higher on the day. Yes, and the question is, where are these, where did I get all these plays today? Okay, these are all being derived from these 2 windows here, the long and the short. Okay, I've just got them kind of, predefined over here where I can click and show you where the exact event happened. And if anybody wants these, I'll be happy to share them before we conclude today. All right, so definitely a lot more of these coming through on the long side today. Now, here's another good example of one that ripped, but this one was pretty fast moving. So needless to say, when you see these types of plays come out, you got to be pretty fast on the draw. Sometimes you got time to react, sometimes not, but it's the pattern that we're interested in here. So this one busting out right here, we'll just call it $4. Actually, it's $3.95. But the good news is our risk was relatively low, to the tune of about 13 cents. So it all just depends on if you can get it. I wouldn't have felt comfortable chasing, anywhere past maybe a little bit of the red line there, which is typically showing us, hey, it might stop here, but if it continues, well, then it might have some legs to it, because when we're using the new high alert in this window here, it's going to automatically mark off the next area that might act as short-term supply. All right, just doing a little time check here because I do want to get to that Holly content. So price alert coming here at 4, roughly speaking. This little guy ran up to 450 and change, about 457. So once again, we've got a very small risk area in here and a very large reward area. Okay, so we got one more here to take a peek at here, A core and then DS. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So right about the 30-minute mark, nice little tight consolidation. And low risk area right here. That alert coming through right about the 350 area, and this one topping out 402. So a lot of these small stocks, even though the IWM was down slightly, it seems that a lot of these big runners to the upside and the downside are going to be the smaller caps right now. How was the float on this one? Not exactly a low float, but not exactly a massive market cap either. Okay, so interesting observation. Even though the IWM isn't really doing anything today, it seems like there's a lot of action going on underneath the rug there on some of these smaller cap stocks. So a very nice percentage gain in the DS as well, all coming from these nice tight opening range breaks, So it's one of the simplest patterns to kind of wrap your head around, especially when you're new. And these also apply to any time frame. You can find these on daily time frames, weekly time frames, as well as the intraday. So I'll make sure I drop these windows into the chat panel before we conclude here. But now it is time to talk about Holly. So I tell you what, let's go ahead and get the strategy panel over here as well. It's hiding from me. Let me find it here. Got my strategy trades. Where is my strategy window? There we go. All right, so kind of a low strategy count that Holly came to the party with today, which doesn't surprise me. Once again, let's just pull the overall market back up. Pop this back over to daily here. How many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, usually we've been seeing a lot more than this, but I can only assume that as the market gets up into this little grind area that Steve was pointing out earlier, it's getting harder for the AI to find that statistical alpha. All right. So not only did we have a lower amount of strategies making the cut today, we also had very few trades. Only 1, 2, 3, 4 signals for the whole day. 2.0 remaining completely silent, and Neo kicking out a couple, as well as Grail. So not a bad day for Holly. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I've been running Holly in automation just to see what's going to happen. Okay, so one thing I'll point out real quick here, and some of you may have heard me talk about this in the past, but when you take a strategy and it has a good back test, which we all know that all the Holly strategies have been back tested and optimized, and they all meet the minimum on our proprietary scoring system, otherwise they wouldn't be here. So we know the back test looks good without even looking at it, all right? However, just because the back test does look good does not necessarily mean you're going to be able to emulate to the T the results of that strategy, okay? There are unknown factors when you try to apply either Holly or one of the strategies that you create into a live environment for automation, all right? So what we cannot see in a back test is, did we get the fill, right? I'm just gonna drag my Brokerage Plus over here. I'm gonna pop over here to Holly. You can see they're still all on. But if I go in here to edit long trading instructions, what do I have set up? Okay, I'm not using a market, but having mentioned the word market, we all know that if we run market buys on longs, unless that stock has been halted, we're gonna get our fill, right? But we might eat a big spread there. All of a sudden the spread opens up to 25 cents. It's only been a nickel all day, but still you bought that offer. So you can have massive or a lot greater slippage when you're running a market order. So I'm kind of doing a hybrid here. I'm using a limit with an aggressive delta of 11 cents. So whenever the signal price comes in, it's going to take that signal price, it's going to add 11 cents to it, it's going to send out my limit order, and most of the time I'm going to get filled. I'm doing the same thing with my short strategies here. See, my trade instructions are exactly the same. Risk 100 bucks, 11 cent on the delta. So in the short case, whatever the price is, it's going to lower the price by 11 cents, and hopefully I get filled. Now, on short trades, if we send even a market order, we might not get filled because of what we call hard to borrow. And every broker dealer is different, right? Just turns out though today in the E-Trade environment, none of these stocks were marginable, okay? Sometimes that helps you, sometimes it hurts you. And this is the unknown factor that I like to bring up when we deal with automating strategies. Most of the time, it's going to come from the short side and not being able to send out an order because it's not borrowable, okay? Now, perusing these plays that Holly came out with today, EFOI, haven't heard from anybody over at IB today, but this was a great little trade. Now, the reason probably it was not borrowable over at E-Trade is probably because of the market cap. Number one, it's a smaller price security, a whopping market cap of not even $18 million there. So as far as market caps go, that's about one of the smaller ones I've seen in a very long time, which probably accounts for not being able to borrow it. Now, from a trade perspective, it was a great little trade, all right? Holly gives us a signal right up here, you know, pretty, not exactly early in the day, about an hour and a half in, but this thing worked very nicely. Even gave us a little opportunity once this consolidation area hits. Well, I keep hitting the wrong thing here. You know, maybe to add to the position as this level right here is being breached and capitulated down further. Not a bad trade. Was I able to execute it today? EFOI? No, it was not. Same for EIQ. Once again, more than likely because of the small market caps here, but just trying to give you guys a heads up. It doesn't matter what broker dealer it is. On these smaller cap stocks, a lot of times we're going to run into this problem. Even WPG, 82 million on the market cap. All right, so today really didn't hurt me that bad because after you subtract out a stop out on WPG, 150 right here, that's if you got everything, let's just call it 90. Maybe you would have been left with 50, 60 bucks in profits after slippage or whatever, assuming you got filled on all of them. But the good news is, got the fill on AVXL today. Let's just pull that one up. And this one was, you know, as far as a long trade goes and what we talk about all the time about extracting conservative profit and moderate profit, number one, let's check out the spread here between conservative and moderate by the end of the day. Well, quite a spread, 100 bucks versus 559, 460 bucks left on the table by our good friend Holly because she closed it out on a profit save. And don't get me wrong, nothing wrong with making money, but as we can see here, well, there we go. Okay, notice the little shaded area right here. That is the time that Holly spent in the trade. She pulls the plug right here, takes 100 bucks, no harm, no foul. I've seen this movie before, ladies and gents, and those of you regular attendees out there, you've also seen this movie many times in the past. What do we have going on here? Well, number one, we've got a signal from Holly, which has statistical viability behind it. Now, what's this stock been doing ever since we took this nice little run up here? All right, it's been consolidating. You know, so obviously the low's way down here, but once we get up into this nice little snuggly range right here, this has already happened. We get a signal from Holly right here. I'm thinking to myself, you know what? I like this one. And did I get a fill on it? Yes, I did. Actually only took about 3 cents of slippage from Holly. Holly got 1859. As we can see over here. Okay, time. There we go. All right. AVXL, market buy, 233 shares, a fill price of 1862. So only took 3 cents of slippage. And then all we had to do was wait. So of course, mark this up in 15-minute candles here. All right, come on, mouse wheel. Okay, so looks a little bit different here, but the theory is the same. Nice consolidation area after the buyer. Not only do we have a gap up, buyer was clearly in control. Holly comes here, just wait, set my price alert for the breach here, which is also the secondary pattern that might form after the Holly signal is, you guessed it, an intraday opening range break, okay? Which occurred right here in this candle, pointing to the first add opportunity, all right? So once Holly produced this signal, I was in it, I like the look of it. What did I do? I went and I set my price alert to tell me to make sure. Let's see, all my windows are disappearing today, but here we go. Okay, so first Holly signal, auto execution at 9:27. So what I do, I come over here and I set my price alert right here for the break or the, another buy signal in the form of an opening range break. We can see the price was 1890 right here, and about 11 minutes after I set that price alert, that's what she did. Broke the price here. Thought we were going to get a lift initially, but sometimes we get that initial lift. Otherwise, we, going to come back to this little break-even area. So I wasn't exactly thrilled with that action, but hey, check out the action around the 10 period here. Just took a little bit more time. Nice and flat for here, comes back up here. Second time it occurs. Of course, you can see I set my price alert, 1146. Let's just call it 21 minutes later, we get the price alert there, and then that's when it gets its main lift. So 2 really great times to leverage this position. First one here on the opening range break the first time, a little bit of consolidation, boom, that second one gets it going. And more importantly, the volume in this thing was just raging all day. All right, finished at 23, usually only kicks out about 1 million, finished the day almost trading at 17 million. These 5-minute and 1-minute metrics were in the thousands all day, so never really worried about the volume not being there. So not only do we have an excellent autofill and good signal from Holly, we had the potential for a secondary pattern to play out and 2 good add opportunities to really leverage this trade today, and it worked out pretty beautifully. Notice my sell arrows here, okay? This is me piecemealing out of the position towards the end of the day. So, on average, I got it out most right here. Did get a little lucky and got a good chunk of it out, not quite at the top, but in that wick up there. So not a bad average out on that position there, and a pretty good day. All right, questions coming in. I see you knocking them down, Steve, there. Anything Holly centric or B plus centric that I need to cover here? Okay, Jenny's talking about the text-to-speech option. Okay, so also too, wanted to point out here, on top of the percentage in AXL that Holly kicked out, holding to the close, 12.69%, by setting these price alerts, we got another 4%, 5% potentiality from that original price of 1941, coupled with another 7.72 from the original price alert, okay? So this is a very powerful way to help compound these Holly plays. When you see this nice tight pattern and you think to yourself, we got a nice opening range break forming here that might happen. We got Holly in it with statistical viability right off the bat. If it happens, it's probably going to be a good one. because we're already in it with statistical probability, secondary pattern occurring, and raging volume to help us out with the movement of that stock. So as I continue my experiment in automating Holly, I'll be glad to share little bits and pieces with you guys on Mondays. On Thursdays, I'm also hosting the live support sessions, so probably start to talk a little bit about it in those as well. So that'll be the Thursday support sessions. That is the 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern live support session. All right, little time check here, and we are at the end of our hour. So unless we have any other questions, what I'm going to do real quick here before I forget is just drop, oh, and one little thing I wanted to point out here. Last Monday, I kicked out the modified alerts, stole one from Andy, Extreme High Low Pro, and just created a very simple top list and pointed these windows to the Russell 2000 to try to keep tabs on these hot, smaller cap stocks that might be in play and might represent some good opportunity. And look what was at the top of both the alert window and the top list today, AVXL. Also too, when this thing started popping highs, it was coming through my high volume alert window that I like to watch for the ORB, the orb patterns as well. So I had a lot of confirmation from AVXL outside of Holly too. And when we start seeing that, you know, with the high volume, that just gives us more and more confidence to leverage the trade and stay in it for the duration. All right, so let me give this link out first. This will be for the upside. There's the long version. And now we'll kick out the short version. All right, so both of those are in there. Oh, and David, when I'm talking about Holly, I'm talking about the artificial intelligence. So kind of a play on words, the very first AI module that we created, we called it the Holly Grail. We called it Holly, play on words, it's the Holly Grail. So yes, when you hear us talking about Holly, we are referencing the AI. Sure, got a request for the Russell 2000 windows as well. No problem. These are predefined lists, so they should just show up, no problem. All right, there's the alert window for the Russell 2000, and now we have the top list. And this top list is real simple. It's just ranking them by relative volume, where they are in their range, lower range for the day, upper range for the day. But you can always sort this. Hey, only show me stocks that are close to highs, only show me stocks that are close to lows, and then you can just reference the volume levels. Okay, and there is the second Russell 2000 window. And that brings us to the tip of the hour here. So Scott, if you're ready to tell everybody how they can save a little bit of money on a new or an existing subscription, I do believe it's that time. And while we're waiting on Scott there, Dave, good question. The question is,
Not my mute button, but go ahead and take care of Dave.
hey, no worries. Let me just answer this question and then we'll let you get back on it. How do you plan these kinds of trades between Holly and your own research? Okay, well, all of the windows that you saw on my desktop, and I'll just kind of minimize this, whether it be these windows or watching the Holly blotter, the way I look at these, it's all just high quality information. You know, these are the things that I want to see. So the key is to only have enough windows that you can manage, right? So I already know that all these stocks coming through here are going to have a lot of the characteristics that I look for. Of course, when you're running Holly and automation, you just take what comes. But for these other windows, you know, the pattern is kind of secondary. Characteristics are there, is the pattern intact? And then we can decide whether or not we want to take the trade. So it's about finding that delicate balance of windows that's going to deliver enough trades, but it's not gonna overwhelm you. All right, Scott, now we're ready for you.
All right. Thank you. So there is a new ebook about strategy indicators written by our Director of Software Development, Dave Mabe. Go ahead and grab that. It's free. It's got some great ideas in there for you. Go to trade-ideas.com/strategy. And it's also got some cloud links you can grab, I think, and insert that into your layout. There's a podcast, and we've got some good episodes out this year. Go ahead and check it out if you haven't already. Trade Ideas Podcast is what you search for. Just add us as a subscription, and then the next time we launch a new one, you'll get it delivered directly into your inbox on your app. And check out the previous episodes we released this year. There's some really insightful interviews good to check out. There's a code, Sunshine, to start a new subscription or do an upgrade. It saves 15% off your first month or year of any Trade Ideas subscription. So grab that and do an upgrade or get a new subscription today. You can find Jamie on Twitter at QuantBot. Steve's got a new handle, TISteveG. Check him out. We've also got at Trade Ideas. Trade Ideas Pro is the Facebook page to find and like, share with your friends. And any questions, shoot it to info@tradeideas.com. That goes into our help desk software so it does not get lost, gets you your help. And the recording of the session will be up later on tonight on our YouTube channel. You get an email reminder tomorrow with some information about how to find it. So have a good one. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you very much, Scott. Thanks everybody for popping in. As always, Steve, thank you, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.